It's kind of like a little treasure hunt with these cucumbers. They're just taken over and there's so many different spots. That one was like way back down in here. So it's been kind of fun to kind of look. Every time you look, you see something different. First, let's talk about how we are growing everything. We have a little bit of everything going on in our garden. We have some raised beds, we have some in-ground growing, we have some container growing with our 10-gallon buckets, and we also have a Greenstalk container that we are growing as well. So this year we decided that we wanted to try a little bit of everything. Since it was our first year, we had to take our time and really get everything set up and all the soil in and all the containers, and there's a lot of figuring out that we had to do. We decided that we wanted to try our hand at, like I said, a little bit of everything to see what works best for us. Right now we have 3 2x6 beds, 2 3x3 beds approximately, and like I said, the 10-gallon grow bags and a Greenstalk container. In the future, we would love to add more beds, probably about double, and then we also want to have just a specific area for in-ground growing to really maximize our area. But we are just not able to accomplish all that this year, so we will definitely be incorporating all that next year. Let's go take a look at what we are actually growing in this space. Alright, I'm going to start with this area because it is my favorite. I really wanted an arch in our garden, and I figured why not grow a ton of cucumbers on it. We love cucumbers. I wanted to make this part very pretty, and it has done such a great job at growing. I didn't actually think that our cucumber plants were going to go all the way around. I'm pretty sure that they are. They are almost at the top and they just have to complete up there. I have been helping them weave through because they just are going absolutely crazy. One side I have just regular cucumbers, and then the other side I have a pickling variety. Now, to be honest, I don't recall all the varieties that I originally planted and started the seeds for. If you're curious to know what varieties we specifically planted this year, go ahead and check out my seed haul video. I discussed all the different varieties there in a lot more detail than what I'm going to do here. The beds that have the cucumber plants in it, those are our 3x3 beds. I figured that we didn't need large beds for that because we are going to be trellising them, but they are even starting to take over our 3x3 beds, and I actually planted plants in there with them, and it's getting really crowded. I have some cherry tomatoes in this one. You can see right here, it's kind of hanging in there. And then those are my carnations. I did have some dahlia plants, but they really have not done well. As soon as this really took off, it's been like really suffocating them and just shading them way too much. I have even dug them up and moved them closer out, and it's just not enough room for them, I guess. So I was really bummed because they were so beautiful when I did get a few blooms. On the other side of the cucumber trellis, I have this bed right here. And fun fact, these 2 beds right here, they are made out of our brooder box that we used for our chicks the very first time. We bought a brooder box off online and we used it for our chicks, but it was just so huge and bulky, and after we did our first round, we decided that we weren't going to use the brooder box for that again, but we still wanted to repurpose it. So our gate for this garden and these 2 beds are actually repurposed, so I'm very happy that we were able to figure that out and be smart with our money. Now we have some tiger melon plants in the back here, and this is like a unique variety that I really wanted to grow for fun for the girls. It is a type of melon that's actually orange and striped like a tiger. So I'm excited to see how it looks and see how it tastes because we've never ever had that before. Now, as you can see, these cucumber plants are flowering like crazy. We have been able to harvest so many cucumbers already, and it's the middle of July. Now it's time for my second favorite part of the garden. And of course, it's these zinnias. They are so beautiful. They are popping up like crazy. I definitely am going to have a whole area next time for flowers, and hopefully to do like a cut flower garden. Flowers honestly bring me so much joy, more than what I thought, and I really love them. I did hear a tip for zinnias that as soon as you get your first bloom, you cut those off of that plant, and then the blooms for the rest of the season actually become bigger and stronger, and they actually multiply a lot better. So that is what I did for these 2 guys. I trimmed the first bloom that we got off right away. The girls were super disappointed. She was like, "Why are you hurting the flowers?" But I did it, and ever since then they are just popping up like crazy. And then in here I have quite a bit. I have lots of peppers and marigolds. I did my best at companion planting, so I really wanted to make sure that I was doing like natural pest control remedies, which is what marigolds do for peppers and tomatoes. So I did a lot of that, but here's the thing. I didn't realize how big marigolds actually get. I thought they were going to be a tiny little flower plant, and they're not. They're like big bushy. And for our beds that are 2x6, it's very, very cramped. I really wish we would have done like 3x6 or 4x6 to kind of have that extra wiggle room. But everything's growing, it's working out. It just looks a little crowded. My pepper plants are starting to concern me because I didn't see them really growing in height that much. And they just kind of felt like they were standing still until we had a lot of nights that were really hot and humid. And then they started to take off. So I'm thinking they need like the hotter nights to really take off. And then they've done really well so far. We have so many here. Oh, this one has 4 peppers. We had a pepper that was on this one and it didn't look so good, so we actually fed it to the chickens. Another little thing that I put in this bed is lemon basil. It smells absolutely delicious. I need to harvest it so bad and dehydrate it. It is growing very, very well. Really bushy. It gives this like amazing aroma. That's one thing that has really pushed me to change my cooking habits, is growing these herbs, because I don't want them to go to waste. So I've been trying to find different dishes to throw in these fresh herbs, and the flavor of our food has just been phenomenal. It's been so nice to have different flavors, and just really your senses come alive when you start using fresh herbs. So I'm excited to harvest this, get this dehydrated so we have some for winter time, and really just learn how to use it, because I'm so new to all this that it's kind of been fun to experiment. And then there was a seedling that I planted, and at the time I was like, you know what, it really doesn't look like a pepper plant, but it was labeled as a pepper plant and I don't really know what they were gonna look like. I did different variations, and turns out it's this. A broccoli plant. I didn't think any of my broccoli germinated. I didn't see any of it that survived. If it did germinate, then it would die off. So I'm actually really excited that we have a little itty bitty baby broccoli. I'm hoping that it gets to a decent size, and I'm hoping that we can get a few more. I just wish I knew it was a broccoli, because I really didn't plan for a big broccoli plant to be in this area. But it's working out. I've kind of trimmed back some of the leaves. I'm not sure if you're supposed to do that, but I went ahead and did that so that it's not suffocating all my other plants, and I just feed it to the chickens. And so far it's doing really good. So I'm kind of impressed. Kind of cool. So I have a whole bunch of different onions that are scattered throughout here. I have red, white, and sweet onions. I consider this area our jungle because it looks like a hot mess. Everything is growing everywhere. This is our whole bed of tomatoes. I did a bunch of different varieties. I crowded this bed. I did 1 tomato plant per square foot. So we have 6 on each side. I've been very diligent about pruning the bottoms here to make sure that none of their bottom leaves are touching. And that is supposed to help prevent any disease spreading through the plant. It's supposed to help their growth, their energy go up in height rather than adding extra limbs and leaves. I did not realize when I planted these that there was 2 different styles of tomato plants, indeterminate and determinate plants. And one is like an established bush size, and it has like a predetermined size that it's going to be. And the indeterminate can get as big as you will let it get. So I've gotten these bamboo stalks here, and I've been clipping or wrapping the plants around them to help them go upward. And I'm really trying to help each plant go their own way to save them space and to maximize our growing space. And so far, everything is doing really good. I was really worried that they were going to have deficiencies or just not have enough nutrients in the soil. Everything is looking green and lots and lots of tomatoes. I did lots of Roma tomatoes. I did San Marzana tomatoes. I did some, what is it called? I did some big slicer tomatoes. I can't recall the variety. They're from Michigan Gardener. Like I said, I do have that in my seed haul, but I did a whole bunch of different ones. Unfortunately, I did not label them when I put them in the ground. I'm just gonna have to guess and kind of look at the different tomato shapes because they are different in their shapes. I did pair all of these plants with the marigolds. So I have about a marigold around each side here. So there's one over here, and then I have them in here. Let me show you some of our tomatoes. So we have a whole bunch over here. We have a whole bunch over here. These look like little itty bitty ones going. Nice clippings over here. Here is our last 2x6 bed, but it's actually the first bed that we planted. I want to say that this is kind of like our really beginner bed, because when we planted it, I planted some spinach, I did some carrots, and I did it like very early in the season. and our soil level was not as what it probably should have been. I think our carrots have really suffered. I actually thought we had a great carrot harvest, but it turned out that they were weeds. I let Melina pull one and it was weeds. It said 55 days, but they do not look ready at all. The greens growing up top still look really small, and I know the carrots are really small under there, so we're not going to harvest any for a while until I really see bushy greenage up top. I did have some spinach in the bed and I let it go to seed. It grew really fast and a lot, and I just wasn't harvesting like I should have been. I ended up feeding it all to the chickens. And then we have this huge head of kale that I need to harvest and figure out how I'm going to preserve it. We do like kale chips, but I also want to put it away for later use, so I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with it yet. And definitely the chickens will be getting some of it as treats because they absolutely love it. And then in the middle here I have a zinnia because I had extra seedlings that I didn't know what to do with, and so I just kind of scattered them throughout, and here is one of the places. And this one has been really slow to bloom, so I think this bed just moves a little bit slower than our other ones. And actually, this is our only bed that we do not have any chicken manure in, so that could be part of it. This is where we decided to plant the girls' bush bean plants that they got from the library. They have done really good. We've already harvested some beans from them. I see a few here. Here's a bean. Here's one. Let's see if any other ones. I see some baby ones. They've definitely loved coming out here and picking some beans. They are bush bean varieties here. I don't remember the exact variety. But next year I will definitely get some vertical growing beans because we do love them, and these 3 plants are not enough really to make too many meals out of or to even preserve. So we definitely need to up our growing rate with those. This right here is some sage. I'm excited to dehydrate some of this for cooking with chicken. And I had these like little red spiders on our sage plant here, and their eggs I think were actually on the back of one of these leaves. I picked it and I haven't seen them since, so I'm hoping I got rid of that pest, as it seems like there's a specific pest for every single plant. They're everywhere, and they're all different and funky looking. And then I also threw in a carnation here, and then over here I got a jalapeno pepper going. This one I actually got from a local person down the road that started some seeds. I got this jalapeno pepper plant and this tomatillo plant, so we should be getting hopefully some here. And I just have it staked up here on this bamboo stake, and it's done great. And behind it I have a cherry tomato plant. I started a bunch of cherry tomatoes in our Greenstalk container because, at least I thought they were cherry tomatoes. I'm not really sure still if they are. They were going wild in there, and it looked crazy, and they were having a hard time. They weren't doing well. Dug them up and I placed them in other spots throughout the garden to see how they were doing. I still have 3 in our Greenstalk container that I will show you, but they really are not thriving. So I'm not sure if that's where I should be planting that. Our next area here in the garden is our Greenstalk growing containers. They are a 7-tier tower. You can either get the 5-tier or the 7-tier. I opted for the 7-tier when it was on sale, and it has been such a great tool for saving space. You can grow so many different things in here. I've used it for our strawberries, I'm using it for different herbs, and I do have some cherry tomatoes in here, and then also for some lettuce. Now I do find that I'm having a hard time with it actually watering all the different levels. I don't know if it's because our ground here is unlevel. And I have it propped up here on this metal tin. Let me show you what I'm talking about right here, because the weeds were just overtaking the bottom layer and it was really hard to weed whack around it. So I've put it on this big bucket thing, and that has helped. So I've split the levels up, and I'm still having an issue with kind of, like I said, the watering, but it's definitely very unlevel now. So that could be a part. I don't know. If you have a Greenstalk growing container, let me know if this has happened to you and how you fixed it. Some of my strawberries are doing really good in here, and some of them are not so much. I'm hoping that because it is our first year with the strawberries that they will get going next season. But our herbs, our cilantro, it has this weird stuff. I don't know if it's supposed to look like this. It kind of looks like it's flowering. I probably need to harvest this before it dies off. It could have already started. But it just looks like it's 2 different cilantros here. I have more basil, we have lemon balm, and I'll show you my chives and my rosemary. So here is some more of that basil I was talking about. This is our lemon balm in here. This is Melina and mine's favorite. We actually made some lemon balm popsicles with this, and it was delicious. We have some chives right here. Now, if you see that, I put some eggshells in here because we did have some slugs in the containers here, and so I just wanted to make sure we weren't getting any of that. This is our dill that I also need to harvest because...
Hey, Mommy, what are chives? They look like onions.
Kind of. Because it's having a hard time here. Here is one of our cherry tomato plants. It's really curling, so I just watered it today because I could tell that it was really dry. So these ones are definitely having a hard time. They're still hanging on, but they are not as happy as I'd like. Here's some rosemary. And then our strawberry plants. Something is eating these up here. And that was one thing that I was really hoping to combat, was the pests with strawberries by growing them up in here. But they seem to still be getting to them in here. And then here is some lettuce. I've already done a few harvests from this, and I need to do it again because it is getting a little wilted. I'm not used to having like wilted kind of soft lettuce, and I don't know if it's the variety I got or if I'm not harvesting at the correct time or what. I even gave the lettuce an ice bath before we used it, and it wasn't the same. The taste was okay. I don't know. I think I need a crunchier variety, so I'm gonna have to play around with the variety that I got. What did you find in there?
Mushrooms.
What does that mean?
That means the soil is good. I like to pick them out.
We have learned that if you find mushrooms in your soil, that it's the perfect growing conditions. And so far, I think we found a mushroom in almost every single bed, which means our soil is good. Right here is where we got a little risky. This is where the greenhouse used to be. We moved it, and I saw that I had some open dirt, and I had some watermelon starts that I really needed to find a spot where I wanted to put them. And so I threw down some compost and I put them in the ground. That's really all I did. We don't have a tiller or anything like that, and so it's just easier to let something kind of kill the grass and get the area prepped for me. Throw down some compost, and we just called it a day. I'm really hoping that I'll be able to trellis this watermelon kind of up on our welded wire fence right back here and along that fence, but I'm afraid the chickens might get to it before I can do that. It is looking really good. I want to say there might be 3 watermelon plants here, and so far it's doing really good. It just makes it really tricky to weed whack because I don't want to hurt the plant, so one of us has to hold the plant as the other weed whacks. And the weed control actually hasn't been that bad, which has been nice. In the future, I'd really like to kind of mulch it and keep the moisture in. I actually will probably do that before the end of the summer anyways, just get some mulch on these areas. Over here, next to them, same thing. I had a little dead spot in the ground, and I decided, hey, why not I put that to use and throw in some watermelon starts. So it's another variety that we decided to go with, and I believe it's supposed to be like an earlier watermelon. We shall see. It looks like it's having a little bit of a harder time though, but we like our watermelon over here, so you're not going to grow anything if you don't put it in and try, right? We planted our potato plants in these 10-gallon grow bags. I got a whole set of them, and these potatoes are doing great. We did do a layer of wood chips in here just to make sure that the soil stays moist, and they are really taking off quite nicely. We have, like I said, a whole bunch of different varieties. We have some red potatoes, some yellow potatoes, and I am excited to see how many potatoes actually grow in these containers.
So something about the potatoes that I learned for every plant is you rub your fingers on the leaves and you smell them. It smells like the vegetable or fruit you're going to get. It does smell like potatoes.
She loves to do it with all the different herbs. I'm always like rubbing my fingers on them and then smelling them, and I think she's seen me do that, so she's trying to do that. But I haven't done that with potatoes. Let's see. It kind of does smell like potatoes. That's interesting.
I did that to the tomatoes, and they smelled like just like tomatoes.
Tomatoes are very strong smelling. I was trimming up the tomato plants one day, and I just do it like with my fingernails and pinch it, and my fingers smell like tomatoes the entire day. So she is correct about that. Over here we have some more strawberries, but these are in the 10-gallon grow bags. And oh look, we have a new strawberry that just came today. It's just like tonight. I didn't see this earlier. So we bought these strawberry plants from the farmer's market, and they were in little containers and they were doing great. Unfortunately, our chickens got to them right when we were having like a peak harvest, but I went ahead and planted them in here. Oh, here's another one. Here's some more. They are really taking off today. I planted them in here to see how they're going to do. Here's a little flower. I would love to eventually have like a whole Greenstalk growing container full of strawberry. Maybe next year we'll go ahead and do that, and we'll see how many strawberries we can get, because so far we haven't had any strawberries make it into the house because someone keeps eating them. We all get like one little bite of a berry, and for some reason these berries are the smallest berries ever. Maybe I need to fertilize them, I don't know. So if you have any strawberry tips, let me know what I'm doing that we're getting such small strawberries. That is our first ever garden tour. We are so excited to have our garden built and just dreaming up of how we can make a bigger and better one next year. But at the same time, we are really appreciating everything that these plants are giving us and everything that we can eat from it. It has been a very fun learning experience, and we are just really grateful for everything.